What happens when one wild night leads to the end of your marriage? I thought nothing could go wrong after a little fun at the club, but now I'm staring at divorce papers and my world is falling apart. Can a single mistake destroy everything, especially when your husband has all the evidence? The bass thumped through my chest as I swayed to the music, feeling more alive than I had in months. The downtown nightclub was packed, bodies pressed together in the dim lighting, and for the first time in forever, I felt free. Free from the mundane routine of being Callista Virayon, office administrator and suburban wife. Tonight, I was just Callista, young, attractive, and ready to have fun. "Girl, you are killing it out there," Sabine shouted over the music, her eyes sparkling with excitement. My sister had always been the wild one, and tonight she was living vicariously through my newfound confidence. "I told you this dress would drive everyone crazy." She was right. The black bodycon dress hugged every curve, and I could feel eyes on me from across the dance floor. It had been so long since I felt desired, since someone looked at me like I was worth pursuing. At home, Edric barely glanced up from his books anymore. 7 years of marriage had settled into a comfortable but passionless routine, and tonight, I was remembering what it felt like to be wanted. That's when I saw him, Marco. Tall, muscular, with dark hair and a smile that could melt steel. He moved through the crowd with confidence, his eyes locked on mine. I knew I should look away, should remember the wedding ring in my purse, but something rebellious inside me refused. "Dance with me," he said, not really asking. His hands found my waist before I could respond, and suddenly we were moving together, the music pulsing around us like a heartbeat. "I'm married," I said, but my body betrayed me, pressing closer to his. "I don't see a ring," Marco replied, his breath warm against my ear. "Besides, it's just dancing." Just dancing. The words echoed in my head as his hands explored my back, as our bodies moved in perfect sync. The alcohol made everything fuzzy around the edges, made it easy to forget about the suburban townhouse where my husband was probably reading in bed, where our 7-year-old daughter Seren was sleeping peacefully. "You're incredible," Marco whispered, and I felt myself melting. When was the last time Edric had called me incredible? When was the last time he'd looked at me with raw desire instead of comfortable familiarity? My phone buzzed. A text from Edric. "How's your night out? Miss you." I stared at the message, guilt washing over me for a brief moment, but then Marco spun me around, his hand steady and sure, and I pushed the feeling away. I deserved this. I deserved to feel beautiful and wanted. It was just dancing after all. "Let's get some air," Marco suggested as the song ended. I followed him outside, my head spinning from the alcohol and attention. The cool night air sobered me slightly, but not enough to stop what was happening. "You're not like other married women," he said, lighting a cigarette. "Most of them wouldn't even talk to me." "What makes you think I'm like other married women?" I asked, surprised by my own boldness. "Because you're here with me instead of home with your husband." The words stung because they were true. I was here, in a dark alley behind a nightclub, flirting with a stranger while my family slept at home. But instead of feeling ashamed, I felt liberated. For once, I was doing something for myself, something that had nothing to do with being a wife or mother or responsible adult. "My husband doesn't understand me," I heard myself saying. "He's so boring, so predictable. He thinks excitement is finding a new book at the library." Marco laughed, a low, seductive sound. "You deserve better than boring." "I do, don't I?" The words felt dangerous and thrilling. I deserve to feel alive. "Come with me," he said suddenly. "I know a place where we can really talk, away from all this noise." I should have said no. Every rational part of my brain screamed at me to go home, to call an Uber and return to my safe, predictable life. But the alcohol and attention had clouded my judgment, and when Marco took my hand, I followed. The hotel was only a few blocks away, upscale and discreet. As we walked through the lobby, I caught a glimpse of myself in the mirrored walls, flushed, disheveled, but radiant with excitement. I looked alive in a way I hadn't in years. Just to talk, I told myself as the elevator climbed to the 8th floor, just to feel appreciated for a few more hours. But even as I thought it, I knew I was lying to myself. The way Marco looked at me, the way his hand felt in mine, the way my heart raced every time he smiled. This was about more than talking, and we both knew it. The hotel room was elegant, all clean lines and soft lighting. Marco poured wine from a bottle he'd somehow procured, and we sat on the plush sofa, talking about dreams and disappointments, about feeling trapped in lives that didn't fit anymore. "You're amazing, Callista," he said, his hand finding mine. "Your husband is a fool if he doesn't see that." "He used to," I whispered. "In the beginning, he made me feel like the most important person in the world. But now you're here with me." The kiss happened so naturally, I almost didn't register it at first. His lips were soft but insistent, and I found myself responding, my hands tangling in his hair. 7 years of marriage, of routine and responsibility, melted away in that moment. "This is crazy," I breathed against his mouth. "The best things usually are," he replied. My phone buzzed again. Another text from Edric. "Getting late. Everything okay?" I stared at the message, my husband's concern cutting through the haze of wine and desire. For a moment, I saw myself clearly. A married woman in a hotel room with a stranger, about to cross a line that couldn't be uncrossed. But then Marco's hands were on my face, turning me away from the phone, and his eyes were so intense, so focused on me, that I felt myself drowning in the attention. "Forget about everything else," he whispered. "Tonight is just about us." I turned off my phone. What happened next was a blur of wine and whispered words, of feeling desired and beautiful and reckless. For a few hours, I wasn't Callista the wife or Callista the mother. I was just a woman being worshipped by a man who couldn't get enough of her. I woke up the next morning with a pounding headache and a sick feeling in my stomach. The hotel room was bathed in harsh sunlight, and Marco was already gone. A note on the nightstand read, "Last night was incredible. Thanks for the adventure. M. Adventure." Is that what this was? I gathered my clothes, my hands shaking as I tried to piece together exactly what I'd done. The wedding ring I'd slipped off during the night felt heavier as I put it back on, like it was made of lead instead of gold. The Uber ride home was a nightmare of guilt and panic. What had I been thinking? How could I have been so reckless, so selfish? Edric would be worried sick, and Serene would wonder where Mommy had been all night. I practiced my story during the 20-minute drive. Sabine's apartment, too much wine, crashed on her couch. Simple, believable, mostly true except for the part about the hotel, and Marco, and the way I'd felt more alive in his arms than I had in my own marriage bed in months. Edric was making coffee when I walked in, still wearing yesterday's dress and yesterday's makeup. He looked up with relief and concern, and I felt my heart break a little at the genuine worry in his eyes. "There you are," he said, coming over to hug me. "I was starting to get concerned when you didn't answer your phone." "Sorry," I mumbled into his shoulder, breathing in his familiar scent of books and aftershave. "My phone died, and Sabine and I got a little too wine-happy. I crashed at her place." "I figured it was something like that," he said, stroking my hair. "Did you have fun?" Fun. Such a simple word for such a complicated night. "Yeah," I managed. "It was good to get out." "Good. You deserve to have fun with your sister." He pulled back to look at me, his kind eyes searching my face. "You look tired, though. Why don't you go shower and I'll make you some breakfast?" The guilt was overwhelming. Here was my husband, sweet and caring and completely trusting, offering to take care of me after I'd spent the night betraying him in the worst possible way. I wanted to confess everything, to fall to my knees and beg his forgiveness, but the words stuck in my throat. "That sounds perfect," I said instead, forcing a smile. "You're the best." As I headed upstairs, I heard Serene's voice from the kitchen. "Daddy, where was Mommy last night?" She was having a girls' night with Aunt Sabine, Edric explained patiently. Sometimes grown-ups need to spend time with their friends. But she didn't say goodbye, Seren said, and I could hear the hurt in her 7-year-old voice. I stopped on the stairs, my hand gripping the banister. I hadn't even thought about Seren when I'd left last night, too caught up in my own need for excitement and validation. What kind of mother was I? In the shower, I scrubbed my skin until it was raw, trying to wash away the evidence of my betrayal. But no amount of soap could clean away the guilt or the memory of Marco's hands on my body, the way he'd made me feel beautiful and desired and reckless. My phone, charging on the bathroom counter, buzzed with a notification. A text from an unknown number, but I recognized Marco's voice immediately. Hope you got home safe. Last night was amazing. I stared at the message, my heart pounding. I should delete it, should block his number, and pretend last night never happened. But instead, I found myself typing back. It was. Thank you for an incredible night. The response came immediately. Would love to see you again soon. I deleted the conversation and put my phone away, but the damage was done. The connection was still there, the temptation still real. As I got dressed and went downstairs to face my family, I told myself it was over, that it had been a one-time mistake I'd never repeat. But deep down, I knew I was lying to myself again. 3 days had passed since that night at the hotel, and I'd almost convinced myself it was just a bad dream. Edric hadn't suspected anything. Seren was back to her normal cheerful self, and life had returned to its comfortable routine. I'd even managed to avoid thinking about Marco for hours at a time. That's why I suggested Sunday brunch at Romano's, our favorite family restaurant. I wanted to prove to myself that everything was normal, that I could sit with my husband and daughter and be the perfect wife and mother again. The guilt was eating me alive, but maybe if I acted normal long enough, I'd start to feel normal too. This is nice, Edric said, cutting Seren's pancakes into small pieces. We should do this more often. Absolutely, I agreed, perhaps too enthusiastically. Family time is so important. Seren was chattering about her upcoming school play, something about being a tree in the forest scene. I tried to focus on her words, to be present in this moment, but my mind kept drifting to that hotel room, to the way Marco had looked at me like I was the only woman in the world. Mummy, are you listening? Seren asked, her voice pulling me back to reality. Of course, sweetheart. You're going to be the best tree in the whole forest. Seren beamed, and I felt another stab of guilt. How could I have risked this perfect little family, for one night with a stranger? That's when I saw them walk in, Marco and a woman I didn't recognize, tall and elegant with long black hair and sharp eyes. They were seated 3 tables away, close enough that I could see Marco's face clearly, far enough that I hoped he wouldn't notice us. My heart started racing. This was exactly what I'd been afraid of. Running into him in public, having to face what I'd done in the bright light of day with my family sitting right beside me. Everything okay? Edric asked, noticing my sudden tension. Fine, I said quickly. Just thought I saw someone from work. But it was too late. Marco had spotted me. His eyes met mine across the restaurant, and I saw a flash of recognition, followed by something that looked like amusement. He said something to the woman with him, and she turned to look at me, her expression cold and calculating. They were walking over. Callista? Marco's voice was friendly, casual, as if we were old acquaintances running into each other at the grocery store. What a small world. Edric looked up from his coffee, his expression polite but curious. Oh, do you two know each other? We met at the gym, Marco said smoothly, extending his hand to Edric. I'm Marco, and this is my girlfriend, Tara. The word girlfriend hit me like a physical blow. Girlfriend. He had a girlfriend, and I'd spent the night with him anyway. What did that make me? Nice to meet you, Edric said, shaking Marco's hand. I'm Edric, Callista's husband, and this is our daughter, Seren. Beautiful family, Tara said, but her smile didn't reach her eyes. She was studying me intently, like she was trying to solve a puzzle. Marco mentioned he'd met you at the gym. You must be very dedicated to your fitness routine. There was something in her tone that made my blood run cold. Did she know? Had Marco told her about Friday night? I try to stay in shape, I said carefully, forcing a smile. It's important to take care of yourself. Oh, I absolutely agree, Tara replied. Though some people take that philosophy a bit too far, don't you think? Sometimes they forget about their other responsibilities while they're taking care of themselves. The words were like daggers, each one carefully chosen to wound. She definitely knew something. Well, we should let you get back to your family time, Marco said, sensing the tension. Enjoy your brunch. As they walked away, I caught Tara whispering something in Marco's ear, her eyes still fixed on me. Whatever she was saying, it wasn't friendly. Interesting couple, Edric said mildly. She seemed a bit intense. Some people are just like that, I replied, trying to keep my voice steady. You know how gym people can be, very serious about their workouts. But inside, I was panicking. The way Tara had looked at me, the pointed comments about responsibilities, she knew. Somehow she knew about Friday night, and she was not happy about it. My phone buzzed. A text message from an unknown number. We need to talk. T. I deleted it immediately, but my hands were shaking. This was exactly what I'd been afraid of. The night coming back to haunt me, threatening the life I'd worked so hard to build. Mommy, you look sick, Seren said, her small face creased with worry. Are you okay? I'm fine, baby, I lied, reaching over to smooth her hair. Just a little tired. But I wasn't fine. As we finished our brunch and headed home, I couldn't shake the feeling that my world was starting to unravel. Tara's cold eyes, Marco's casual demeanor, the way he'd introduced himself to my husband like they were just casual acquaintances, it all felt like a time bomb waiting to explode. That afternoon, while Edric and Serene were in the backyard planting flowers, my phone rang. Sabine's name flashed on the screen. Hey sis, I answered, grateful for the distraction. Callista, we need to talk, Sabine said, her voice unusually serious. I just got off the phone with Jessica, and she said the weirdest thing. Jessica was one of Sabine's friends, part of the social circle that overlapped with mine through various connections. What kind of weird thing? She said she saw a video on Instagram of you at the club Friday night, dancing with some guy, getting pretty friendly. My blood turned to ice. What video? I haven't seen it myself, but Jessica said it was posted by someone named Tara Lynn. Do you know anyone by that name? Tara, Marco's girlfriend. She'd been at the club Friday night, had seen everything, had probably been recording while I made the biggest mistake of my life. I don't know what Jessica is talking about, I said, but my voice sounded hollow even to my own ears. I was dancing with lots of people Friday night. It was a club, Sabine. That's what people do. Callista. Sabine's voice was gentle but firm. Jessica said it looked like more than just dancing. She said you and this guy left together. The silence stretched between us, heavy with unspoken truths. Sabine knew me better than anyone, could always tell when I was lying. But I couldn't admit what I'd done, not even to her. It's not what it looks like, I said finally. We just shared an Uber to save money. He was staying at a hotel downtown, and it was on the way to your apartment. Another lie, piling on top of all the others. But what choice did I have? The truth would destroy everything. Okay, Sabine said, but I could hear the doubt in her voice. I just wanted to give you a heads up. You know how people talk. After we hung up, I immediately went to Instagram and searched for Tara Lynn. Her profile was private, but I could see her profile picture, the same cold, beautiful face from the restaurant. I sent a friend request, hoping to see what she'd posted, but it was rejected within minutes. The next few hours were torture. I kept checking my phone, waiting for more calls, more questions, more evidence of my betrayal to surface. Edric noticed my distraction during dinner, asking if everything was okay, and I forced another smile, another lie. "Just work stuff," I said. "You know how it is." But he was studying me more carefully now, his kind eyes searching my face for clues. How long before he started putting the pieces together? How long before someone showed him that video? That night, as we lay in bed, Edric reached for me, his hand gentle on my waist. "I love you," he whispered in the darkness. "I love you too," I whispered back, and it was true. I did love him. His gentleness, his loyalty, his unwavering faith in me, which made what I'd done even more unforgivable. As he fell asleep beside me, I stared at the ceiling and wondered how long I could keep this secret. How long before my one night of freedom destroyed everything I held dear? Monday morning at the office felt like walking into a minefield. I'd barely settled at my desk when I noticed the whispers starting. Co-workers huddled around phones, glancing in my direction before quickly looking away. The video had spread beyond Tara's Instagram. It was everywhere. "Morning, Callista," my supervisor Janet said as she passed my cubicle. Her tone was cooler than usual, more professional. "Could I see you in my office when you have a moment?" My stomach dropped. Janet had always been friendly, almost motherly. This formal distance meant trouble. I tried to focus on my work, but every notification, every whispered conversation, every glance in my direction felt like an accusation. Finally, I couldn't take it anymore. I pulled out my phone and searched social media for any mention of my name. What I found made me sick. The video was grainy but clear enough. Me and Marco on the dance floor, our bodies pressed together, his hands exploring my back, my head thrown back in laughter. To anyone watching, we looked like lovers, not strangers. The caption read, "Some wives have no shame, feel sorry for the husband." The comments were brutal. Disgusting, her poor family. "I know this woman, she has a little girl. What a role model. The husband seems like such a nice guy too. This is heartbreaking." My hands were shaking as I scrolled through dozens of comments, shares, and reactions. The video had been viewed over 10,000 times. My face, my betrayal, was spreading across the internet like wildfire. I tried to delete the comments on my own social media to control the narrative, but they kept coming. People I barely knew were weighing in on my marriage, my character, my fitness as a mother. The shame was overwhelming. "Callista," Janet's voice made me jump. "My office, please." I followed her down the hallway, aware of every eye on me, every whispered conversation that stopped as I passed. Janet closed the door behind us and gestured for me to sit. "I'm going to be direct," she said, settling behind her desk. "There's a video circulating on social media that appears to show you in a compromising situation. Several employees have brought it to my attention." "It's not what it looks like," I said automatically, the lie coming easier now with practice. "I was just dancing. People are making it into something it's not." Janet studied me for a long moment. "Callista, what you do in your personal life is your business. But when it starts affecting the workplace environment, it becomes my business. I've had 3 different people ask me if our company condones this kind of behavior from married employees." "That's ridiculous," I said, anger flaring. "What I do on my own time has nothing to do with my job performance." "You're right, it shouldn't. But perception matters, especially in our line of work. We deal with families, with children. Our reputation has to be beyond reproach." The implication was clear. My behavior was reflecting poorly on the entire organization. "So what are you saying?" "I'm saying you might want to consider taking some time off until this blows over. Let things cool down." "You're suspending me?" "I'm offering you the option to take voluntary leave. With pay," Janet added quickly, "just until the attention dies down." I wanted to argue, to fight back, but the weight of shame was crushing. Everyone knew. Everyone was talking about me, judging me, finding me wanting. The life I'd built, the reputation I'd cultivated, was crumbling around me. I'll think about it, I said, standing to leave. Callista, Janet called as I reached the door. Whatever happened that night, I hope it was worth it. The words followed me back to my desk, where I mechanically gathered my things. Worth it? One night of feeling desired, of feeling alive, in exchange for my marriage, my reputation, my peace of mind. How could I have been so stupid? My phone rang as I was packing up. Edric's name on the screen made my heart race. Hey, I answered, trying to sound normal. Callista, I just got a call from my mother. She's upset about something she saw online. She wants to meet with us tonight. Miriam. Edric's mother had never fully approved of me, had always thought her precious son could do better. If she'd seen the video, if she was involved now, things were about to get much worse. What did she see? I asked, though I already knew. Some kind of video from Friday night. She wouldn't give me details, just said we needed to talk as a family. His voice was confused, worried. Callista, what's going on? I don't know, I lied. People post all kinds of things online. You know how your mother can be. She probably saw me dancing and made it into something dramatic. Maybe, Edric said, but he didn't sound convinced. But she seemed really upset, more than usual. After we hung up, I sat in my car in the office parking lot and tried to think. The video was spreading, people were talking, and now Miriam was involved. How long before Edric saw it himself? How long before he put the pieces together? I needed to get ahead of this, to control the narrative before it completely spiraled out of control. I pulled up Facebook and started typing. I'm disappointed by the malicious gossip being spread about me online. A video of me dancing at a club has been taken completely out of context and used to attack my character and my family. To those sharing these lies, you don't know the whole story, and your judgment says more about you than it does about me. To my real friends and family, thank you for your support during this difficult time. I posted it before I could second-guess myself, then shared it to Instagram and Twitter. If people wanted to talk about me, I'd give them something to talk about. The responses came immediately. Playing the victim won't change what you did. We saw the video. There's no context that makes that okay. Your husband deserves better. But there were some supportive comments too, mostly from people who didn't know the full story. People are so quick to judge. Hang in there. Marriage is hard. Don't let the haters get you down. You're a strong woman. This will pass. The mixed reactions gave me hope. Maybe I could spin this, make myself the victim of malicious gossip instead of the perpetrator of betrayal. Maybe I could save my marriage, my reputation, my life. But that hope was shattered when my phone rang again. This time, it was Serene's school. Mrs. Virayon, this is Principal Martinez. I'm calling because Serene seems very upset today. She's been crying in class, and when her teacher asked what was wrong, she said some kids were saying mean things about her mommy. My heart broke. 7 years old, and my daughter was already paying the price for my mistakes. What kind of things? Nothing specific, but you know how children pick up on their parents' conversations. Is there something going on at home that might be affecting her? No, I said quickly. Everything's fine. She's probably just tired. She didn't sleep well last night. I see. Well, if there's anything the school can do to support your family during this time. She knew. Even the principal knew about the video, about my shame. There was nowhere left to hide. That evening, we sat in Miriam's pristine living room like defendants awaiting sentencing. She'd insisted on meeting at her house, on her territory, where she could maintain complete control of the conversation. I've seen the video, she said without preamble, her grey eyes cold with disappointment. Multiple people have sent it to me, wanting to know if it's really my daughter-in-law making a spectacle of herself. Edric looked confused, hurt. What video? Will someone please tell me what's going on? Miriam pulled out her phone and, with obvious distaste, showed him the screen. I watched my husband's face as he saw me dancing with Marco, saw the intimacy, the obvious attraction, the way we moved together like lovers. The color drained from his face. Callista. It's not what it looks like, I said desperately. I was just dancing, having fun with my sister. People are making it into something it's not. That man's hands are all over you, Miriam said coldly, and you're clearly enjoying every second of it. I was drunk, I protested. I wasn't thinking clearly. It didn't mean anything. Edric was staring at the phone, replaying the video. Who is he? No one. Just some guy at the club. I don't even remember his name. Another lie, but what choice did I have? The truth would destroy everything. You don't remember his name, Edric repeated slowly, but you remember dancing with him like that. Edric, please. It was a mistake, a moment of stupidity. It didn't mean anything. It means something to me, he said quietly. It means something to our daughter, who came home from school today asking why kids were saying her mommy was bad. The words hit me like a physical blow. Seren, my sweet, innocent daughter was suffering because of my selfishness. I never meant for this to happen, I whispered. But it did happen, Miriam said. And now the whole world knows that my son's wife has no respect for her marriage or her family. That's not fair, I said, anger flaring. You've never liked me, Miriam. You're just using this as an excuse to turn Edric against me. I don't need an excuse, she replied calmly. You've done that all by yourself. The next few days were a nightmare of whispered conversations and pointed stares. Everywhere I went, people knew. At the grocery store, the cashier gave me a look of barely concealed disgust. At Seren's school pickup, other mothers turned away when they saw me coming. Even my own sister seemed distant when I called. Sabine, I need you, I said into the phone, pacing around my kitchen while Edric was at work and Seren was at school. Everyone's acting like I committed murder. It was just dancing. Callista. Sabine's voice was tired. I saw the video. We all saw the video. So, since when is dancing a crime? It wasn't just dancing, and you know it. The way you two were moving together, the way you were looking at each other. It was intimate. Sexual. I was drunk. Being drunk doesn't change what you did. It just explains why you did it. The conversation ended with Sabine promising to call me back later, but she never did. Even my own sister was abandoning me. That afternoon, I decided to take matters into my own hands. I drove to the gym where Marco worked out, hoping to find him, to convince him to help me control the narrative. Maybe if we both explained that nothing had happened, that it was just innocent dancing, people would believe us. I found him in the weight room, his muscled frame glistening with sweat as he worked through his routine. For a moment, I was transported back to that night, remembering how those same muscles had felt under my hands, how he'd made me feel beautiful and desired. Marco, I called softly. He looked up and I saw something flash across his face. Annoyance? Fear? He glanced around the gym, then walked over to me, his expression carefully neutral. Callista, what are you doing here? We need to talk, about the video, about what people are saying. I don't think that's a good idea, he said, lowering his voice. Tara's pretty upset about the whole situation. Tara's the one who posted the video. She's the one causing all this drama. She's my girlfriend, Marco said firmly, and she has every right to be upset. What we did, he shook his head. It was a mistake, for both of us. So help me fix it. Tell people nothing happened, that it was just dancing, that... But something did happen, Marco interrupted. We both know it, and lying about it isn't going to make it go away. So you're just going to let me take all the blame? Let my marriage fall apart while you walk away clean? Marco's expression hardened. You made your choices that night, Callista, just like I made mine. But I'm not going to lie to protect you from the consequences. He walked away, leaving me standing alone in the middle of the gym, feeling more isolated than ever. Even Marco, my partner in betrayal, was distancing himself from me. That evening, Edric came home later than usual. He'd been working longer hours, staying at the office until well after normal closing time. I suspected he was avoiding coming home, avoiding having to face me and the mess I'd created. "How was your day?" I asked, trying to sound normal as he hung up his coat. "Fine," he said, not meeting my eyes. "Yours?" "The same, quiet." We moved around each other like polite strangers, the easy intimacy of 7 years of marriage replaced by awkward formality. Seren picked up on the tension, becoming clingy and tearful, asking repeatedly if Mommy and Daddy were mad at each other. "Of course not, sweetheart," I assured her, but the lie felt hollow. We were more than mad, we were broken, and I didn't know how to fix it. That night, as we lay in bed with our backs to each other, Edric finally spoke. "I've been thinking about the video," he said quietly. My heart started racing. "Edric, I keep watching it, trying to understand, trying to figure out how my wife ended up dancing like that with a stranger. I told you I was drunk. I wasn't thinking clearly." "That's what scares me," he said, rolling over to face me. "If that's what you do when you're drunk, when you're not thinking clearly, what does that say about who you really are?" "It says I made a mistake." "One mistake, Edric. Doesn't 7 years of marriage count for anything?" 7 years of marriage should have been enough to stop you from making that mistake in the first place. The words hung between us like a wall. I wanted to reach for him, to bridge the gap that was growing wider every day, but I could feel him pulling away from me, protecting himself from further hurt. "I love you," I whispered into the darkness. "I know," he replied. "That's what makes this so hard." The next morning brought a new crisis. Edric's phone rang during breakfast, and I watched his face change as he listened to whoever was on the other end. "I see," he said finally. "Yes, I understand. Thank you for letting me know." "Who was that?" I asked as he hung up. "My lawyer," Edric said quietly, glancing at Serene, who was absorbed in her cereal. "Someone sent him the video. He wanted to make sure I was aware of it." "Your lawyer? Why would your lawyer care about—" The realization hit me like a truck. "Edric, you're not thinking about—" "I'm not thinking about anything right now," he said carefully. "I'm just trying to understand what my options are." "Divorce." He was thinking about divorce. The word hung unspoken between us, terrifying in its implications. I could lose everything: my husband, my home, my daughter. "Daddy, what's a lawyer?" Seren asked, looking up from her breakfast. "Someone who helps people with important decisions," Edric said gently. "Finish your cereal, sweetheart. You don't want to be late for school." After Seren left for school, I confronted Edric directly. "You can't be serious about this. About divorce. Over one night of dancing." "It wasn't just dancing, Callista. We both know that. Nothing happened. Something happened. Maybe not what you're afraid I'll think happened, but something. You connected with another man in a way that should be reserved for your husband. You let him touch you, hold you, look at you like he owned you." The accuracy of his words was devastating. Marco had looked at me like he owned me, and I'd loved every second of it. "I'm sorry," I whispered. "I'm so sorry, Edric. It will never happen again." "How can I believe that? How can I trust you when you've shown me that alcohol and attention from another man can make you forget you're married?" "Because I love you. Because I love our family." "I used to believe that," Edric said sadly. "But love isn't just a feeling, Callista. It's a choice. And that night, you chose someone else.